I'm Matt with etrailer, and today we're talking about the Inno Roof Rack system on top of our 2023 Ford F-150. That's going to be a great option for you if you're trying to haul anything that's longer that you maybe can't fit in the bed of your vehicle, anything like a kayak. You're going to be able to put this on top of your roof. And it's going to work greatly, especially if you have a ladder rack that can work in conjunction with it. Another thing that's nice about it too is if you're looking for something that's going to be a little bit more clean or have more of a flush design to it, this is going to be a great option for that too. So let's check it out. Our system today is going to be comprised of 3 parts. The first one is going to be our 51-inch Aero crossbars up top. Next to that, we're going to have our flush towers, and that's going to connect to our fit kit. So let's take a closer look at the crossbar. So this crossbar is going to have this Aero design to it that's going to help it be more aerodynamic to reduce that wind noise. It's also going to have this weather strip on top that's also going to help reduce wind noise, but it's also going to help keep debris from entering in here. The whole purpose of this weather strip is to help protect that T-channel we have at the top. And that T-channel is going to be used for your T-channel accessories. And then next to that, we're going to have the towers that it attached to. This is going to be more of a flush design, so what that means is our crossbar is going to stick past it. It's going to give you more of a clean design overall. And beneath that, we're going to have our fit kit. Our fit kit's going to be what makes this a custom fit for our vehicle today, and it's going to attach to our gutters on our vehicle and grab hold. It really does give us a very good secure fit, and the only way to access this hardware is to remove the end cap on the back of your tower, which has a lock cord to it. To give you a closer look at what's inside, we'll unlock this, get this out of our way. The way that fit kit operates is we're going to have this bolt that attaches or secures down to our tower, and this clamp is going to be in between the tower and that bolt, holding it in place. And that clamp is going to attach to the inside of our door jamb. And as you can see, it does cover quite a bit of a distance, so I am a fan of that design. We're going to get a few measurements now. The first one I'm going to get is going to be the clearance beneath our crossbars to our roof. And that's going to be at about 1.75 inches, which isn't a whole lot of space. Now, if you want a little bit more space, you can go next to that if you have the chance, which is going to give us about more like 2 inches of space underneath here, which is still going to be very limiting, especially if you are trying to get those more bulky clamps on here. If you are doing that, I'd still recommend sticking to that T-channel if you can. But the overall height I'm going to get from our tower, because our tower sticks up a little bit more than our crossbar does, and that's going to be a little bit over 3 inches. Isn't too bad. That's actually a really low profile. So what you lose out on the clearance underneath the crossbar, you gain with how high it sits. What I recommend is taking the total height of your vehicle plus your crossbars, and if you have any gear on top of that, include that too, so you know what areas you can make it under. As for the crossbar spread, we're going to have a specific number that is going to work for our vehicle today. Now, you probably can play around with it a bit, but I would still recommend sticking to what the manufacturer recommends. So I'm just going to go from the back of our front crossbar and the back of the rear crossbar, and that's going to get us a little bit under 29 inches. So that's going to be the amount of space you got to think about when you do put gear up here. You're going to have the ability to load this up to 165 pounds, which is quite a bit. It's something I do recommend in checking what your roof is rated for on your vehicle. You can find that in your owner's manual, and then going from the lowest rated component. But overall, I think this is going to be a great option for you, especially if you do like something that's more flush and more low profile. Now, if you want something that's going to have the crossbar stick out a little bit, Inno does make another system that does have those bars stick out a bit. That's going to be a great option if you have any ski carriers that are kind of hard to reach, especially grabbing something right here is going to be much easier than reaching in and grabbing something at this point. Or if you want to check out some of our other roof rack systems, we have plenty from Yakima and Inno Rack. But if you're curious about the install process, just stay tuned and we'll walk you through it. To start off our installation, we're going to lay everything out. So up front, we're going to have our crossbar and the towers on each end with their end caps. In the center, we're going to have our clamps and then the bases that go on our towers. We're going to have these two adapters that go into our crossbars so you can attach your towers. And we're going to have some included tools. We're going to have two different size Allen keys. One's going to have this built-in torque device to let you know when it's all the way tightened down. And we're going to have a set of keys. What I do recommend is grabbing a tape measure. Your kit will come out with a little tiny paper ruler. I'm not a big fan of using those. I think a regular tape measure is going to help you out a lot more. Where I want to start is putting on my tower to my crossbar. To do that, we need to do a few things first. I'm going to unlock this so I can remove the end cap. I also want to make sure this is going to go on the correct side. So you notice there's an L right here letting us know it's going to go on the left side. The end cap's also going to have a label like that too. So we want to make sure this goes on the left side of the bar. A good way to figure this out is to orient your bar so it's going to be facing forward. So you want to make sure this thicker side is facing in front of you. Once you've done that, we know this is going to be our left side, so I'm just going to flip this over and start prepping the bar. To do that, I'm going to push this channel forward. What I do is I just usually put my finger here and push against it until it sticks all the way out. You're going to have this square gap. We're going to put our adapter, this piece right here, in there. And we're going to do that through the bottom. You notice we have this notch right here, and that's going to fit perfectly into that square and lock into place. And we're just going to push this all the way back in. It is a little bit of back and forth, but you notice I can't push it in anymore. What I got to do is press this square down, push it some till it locks in place. The reason why we have to have this all the way in is when we place our towers on it, we're going to have two notches that are going to go into that adapter. And that thicker side can't fit into the channel in the thinner areas. That's why we have to have it all the way back here. So I'm just going to flip that around, line up that notch with that opening right here, and place it down. Might have to change my angle just a little bit. But you'll notice it's not grabbing all the way. The backside's not on there. So we do have to push it all the way back out until it grabs on. And from this side, from this point, I just recommend tightening this slightly so it grabs on. So we're going to have this channel at the bottom of your tower. You're going to grab your larger Allen key and tighten that down. Like I said, you just want to do that just slightly, enough for it to grab on so it's not flinging all over the place. And once you have that done, you can repeat that process on the other side. With both towers on, we can move on to putting the bases on them. So what I like to do is when I grab that base, you'll notice we have these holes and divots on them. You're just going to match those divots to the bolts or screws we have on here right now. And these tabs are going to go right into those holes too. This is going to sit on here pretty flush, so if you have any gaps, you know this isn't on there quite right. That's about what it should look like. You just do that on the other side. And when you have both on there, we can get the distance between the towers. Now that distance that I have today is going to be 51 inches or 25.5 from the center to one of the towers. So I'm just going to double check, see what mine is. I'm a little bit short, so I'm going to have to extend these out. So I didn't tighten these down all the way, so what I can just do is grab my crossbar and pull on the tower. Extend that out, I'll do that on both sides and then remeasure everything. Before we get this up on a roof, the last step is just going to be tightening those bolts the rest of the way down. And once you do this on both sides, we can finally get it up there. To make this process a lot easier, I recommend just getting in your bed because putting it up here, like I said, is just going to be a lot simpler. So when you place this on top of your roof, you want to make sure that this thicker side is facing forward and this thinner side is facing behind us. After when you've done that, we're just going to roughly place this where we need it to sit. We're looking at around 20 inches from that door frame. But this doesn't have to be perfect quite yet. But after when this is roughly on here, I recommend checking both sides, making sure that base is grabbing on to those gutters or that divot we have on the top of our roof. When everything's looking pretty good, I recommend just making sure everything's spaced out correctly. It's going to be the same process for both your crossbars, for your front and your rear one. The only difference is going to be the measurement you use. The measurement we're looking for at rear crossbar is going to be 19 3/4. Now just make sure you go from that point right here between your two doors, measure out to the center of your crossbar, and make sure everything's lined up on both sides. Now your front crossbar is going to be sitting at 7 3/4, so just keep that in mind when you measure from that same distance. We're going to make sure that these bars stay up here, so to help hold them in place, we're going to have to put on our clamps. And before we can do that, we've got to remove this bolt. When this bolt is removed, we just set it off to the side. We'll grab it in just a second again. But we want to put our clamps up here. With that out of the way, you can grab that clamp. And you're going to just line it up to the contours of your tower. And you're going to push that bolt right through there into where you got it from. And bolt it back down into place. You want to make sure when you do this too, that this clamp is around your gutter and you're pushing on and against it towards your vehicle. With that hand tight now, we're going to grab our included tool with that torque device on it and start tightening this down. Now the best way to do this is to tighten this a little bit, going back and forth to each side so it doesn't pull too much to one side, making it uneven. But the way it's going to let you know if it's tightened all the way is when you hear that click that we just had. Finally, our last step is just going to be putting on our end caps. Just make sure you have the correct one for the correct side so it goes in there correctly. Sometimes they can be a little tricky to line up. But once it's flush all around, we'll lock it in place. And this is a good point, just give it a shake test. Make sure nothing's moving, everything feels pretty solid. And if it does, you can load it up with whatever gear you have and take it out for a ride. But that was just a look at the installation and some of the features of the Inno Roof Rack system on top of our 2023 Ford F-150. Thanks for watching.